Hi everybody, this is lecture part 3, so we're going to continue right here. Oh, I'm still in edit mode. I don't want to have this. Well, if we see the shape over here, it's still not as good as we want it to be, because we have over here still these nasty viewpoints. Well, I'm going to change a little bit the order of a few of these operations. Like we see over here, the X form. I did the cleanup right over here, so if I do the mirroring part and I do a join over then we still remain with those points. So I'm going to move this one completely downwards. So I'm going to reconnect this one, and I'm going to add it right underneath here after the fuse. So we have the fuse, then we have the refine, and then only then I'm going to reconnect this one. So if we check it out, then we have something like this. Cool. Alright then. Let me show just a few other things you can do in Houdini to organize the nodes that you have. For example, you can create a box around several nodes, which makes it more obvious for you to read what's going on. So if you multi-select all these, and just by dragging around these ones, you can, I don't think it's right over here, because I don't use it. Mostly I use the shortcut Control N, and Control N creates like this nice net box for you. And this net box we can rename then to, let's say for example, seal operation. And we can select this one, so only this one, not all of it. And if you press C, then you get this color scheme on the screen. So when one is selected and you have this color scheme, you can just select what kind of color you want to give it. So we do the same over here, just select the nodes that you want to have. Control N to create this net box. We rename it to, for example, domes, and I select the object over here, press on C for color, and I can give it like a different color. And the nice thing about this is that you can collapse this temporarily to clean up the space. So it's not creating a function, it's just a mere visual thing to organize your viewport a little bit, to make it easier to see and organize things. Right over here, by the way, I've changed the way how I had my background look. So if you press D for each window you're in, pressing D gives you the opportunity to change all kinds of things for that specific viewport. For example, over here the background, I set it to a dark color scheme. Let me change it back to light, so it becomes a little bit more readable, like it is. You can do it over here as well. You can press over here D, and we can change the styles on how the links are appearing. For example, setting to straight lines or rounded. See? I prefer still the rounded lines. I'm kind of used to those. Display color palette, display network overview. So these are a few options you can have. You can also show the dependencies. Dependencies are different than the traditional links you have. The dependencies are to show which expressions are using which node. So if we're going to show the local dependencies, then you see that these ones are being used as well. So I create just two simple dependencies. So from the else system I'm reading out the bounding box, and it goes back into the X form. And this is quite useful, and same over here. This is quite useful because with expressions you may be able to create a loop that you don't see. So something links through to this one, and from there to there, and from there to there, and then you go back to the top again, and you have created some kind of a dependency loop. And with this you can check into the dependencies. So it's just by pressing D in the screen itself. And I'm going to switch that off. Close. Now you should remember it is not a function. Like I told you, it's only for visual reference. Creating a function is like in the previous lecture, that you have to press Shift C and this will collapse all the nodes. Now it's not only backgrounds that you can give colors, you can also select a few nodes. For example, these ones, press on C and give them a blue color. So you have all kinds of different ways to add logic into your viewing system. Okay, just a few things that we're going to do right now as well is now we have the geometry over here, but we want to output our geometry so that we can create all these objects and that we can use them inside the game engine, for example. So we're going to create an output thing. So over here, if you go to objects and keep the left button pressed over here, we can go to out. And output in Houdini, it's very general. So rendering and saving out geometry or saving out point cache files. All those things, they're all considered being one general thing. So over here you can have like you can render Mantra, Mental Ray. Mantra is the default render engine of Houdini. You can use all kinds of render engines, whatever you want to have. You can also bake out a simulation, or it's extremely flexible. I'm still going to show more things about that later. Now we're only interested into geometry. So we'll have to select the object that we're going to render. So if you press over here, we can see we have the Arabic shapes, and we can select the node exactly that we want to have. Now the problem is over here, I don't know exactly which one it is. I'm going to cancel it. I'm going back to my object, go back in here, and I will add an extra node, a null node behind it. A null node, well, it's quite simple. It doesn't do anything at all. It's just there as some kind of a reference, and you can cache the input, of course. So we call it out seal because it's a ceiling shape that we want to get out of there. So yeah, just one other detail. I think with some of you guys, you could have that if you change either one of these, that the rendering is separate from the viewing. So you can see that with the movie file, the film image and the eye image. So this one is going to be used for rendering, this one is going to be used for viewing. Although that's not the case with rendering to geometry. That's something different. But anyways, if you want to make sure that both of these are moving exactly the same time, exactly the same like it is moving over here, you can always go to Edit Preferences. So over here, the preferences, you can change lots of things. For example, the network editor. Network editor is the thing we're controlling over here. So if you go over it, you see change, sub, render and display flag separately. I think this is one. So if I apply this, yeah, you can see those. Now they're moving separately, so I'm going to switch this off. So you might be interested to switch this off as well. So if you apply, now they're moving both at the same time. That's what I prefer anyways. Well, there are a lot of options over there, so do take a look that you know what you can do. It will make things much easier for you. Right here we add a second null, and this null is going to be out out dome, something like this. So these are our dome shapes. Okay, so now we can go back into our out geometry, and right now it will be much easier to select out seal. We accept this one, and we're going to add an output file, which I'm going to place over here in the C file. We'll make a new folder called generated geometry, and I'll accept these, and then over here I create a folder for the ceiling objects and another folder for the dome objects. Now over here, as you can see, again the $f variable is being used, so it's just the same as with everything. It's just reading out the value of the timeline, so we can use this to number the objects being generated. So I'm going to call this seal. First go in there, seal, and do an underscore, for example, $f. Just one thing though, because only $f is being used, it's going to number them just by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And what I want to change is that it will number them, setting those like 0001, 0002, 0003, and so on. So in order to do so, just have to set right behind the F the number of digits that you want to have. So 4 digits will mean 3 zeros, then 1, 3 zeros, 2, and so on. And now I will change it into an OBJ file, accept those, and the only thing I will have to do is just go over here again and find the geometry, and I render a frame range which I'll set over here, and that's basically it. So I do rendering, and now as you can see it's just rendering out the geometry for me. Which is a pretty fast modeler, as you can see. Just waiting a little bit. Okay. Checking out C. Go to geometry, generate geometry, go to ceiling, and as you can see, all the objects are being generated over here. Now we can add another one as well, and I'm not 100% sure, but we'll check it for the dome. And we'll go over here again to the C, generate the geometry, dome, we'll do the same thing. dome $F using 4 signs, using obj, and accepting. Well, that should be it. Render frame range, also setting to 60. Now there's a nice thing that you can do with Houdini is that you can connect these nodes as well. You can pair it. And what this means, because it seems rather strange that you can connect renders. What do they have to do with each other? Well, the thing is, with this you can determine dependency. So right now, geometry 1 is always going to be rendered first, then after that, geometry 2 is going to be rendered. So simple as that. So I'm going to disconnect it. I'm just going to render this one separately. I'm not going to specify the frame range again. I have it. I'm just going to render geometry 2. This goes a little bit faster. It's a simpler object. So just now, to be very sure, going to go back to objects, creating a new geometry file. I'll go in there and I will load over here those objects. And so you can see we're still in the same directory. You can show sequence as 1 and 3 or as like separate objects. I'm going to use it as 1 and 3, accept them, and now also for the loading it is using the same expression, so it will show the same objects, hide all the other objects, and as you can see it's just loading in the new objects over here. So they all have been saved successfully. Okay, this concludes these lessons. So what you've seen right now is that we can have that we can generate geometry in a random kind of fashion for us, that we also have more control over the L system, that you can generate quite some successful shapes. Especially over here I've shown you that you can really control if you want something to go from left to right, or more controls if you go deeper into that and if you have more experience. We've seen some various nodes again into different ways. I've shown you a little bit how to organize your graphs a bit better. And then finally you've seen a system how to render all your geometry out to usable files. So this will be it.